We've got more Charlie Kirk on college campus. I could not be more excited to see these weird pro-Palestinians talk to Charlie Kirk. I'm Tyler Traveling Clat, your favorite Zionist prince. Let's get right into it.
Sir.
Hey, good afternoon. You got it? Hey, good afternoon. How are you? Okay. I just wanted to get your opinion on the funding of AIPAC and the alleged buying out of the U.S. Congress, especially with everything going on overseas and the highly criticized and debated two-party state between Israel and the Palestinian people.
My opinion of AIPAC?
How would you curb or resolve the issue? Not just AIPAC. We have our own domestic issues, but they're coming in and earning $28 billion for their donation of $43.5 to the U.S. Congress. So our foreign, our proxies and our donations to Ukraine and the state of Israel.
So how would I curb that?
Yeah.
I mean, well, look, understand, AIPAC is constituted of Americans that are advocating for a foreign policy thing they care about. And it's a very dangerous road to be on. There are groups of Armenians that advocate for the recognition of the Armenian genocide. There are groups of American Indians that recognize for better relations with India. And it just so happens there are a lot of American Jews that argue for a very strong relationship with Israel. So can I better understand the question?
So how do you feel about America using Israel as a proxy? And the Apollo affair and Levant affair and the Gulf Wars and the invasion of Afghanistan and Iraq.
Okay, there's a lot there. So how do I think of Israel as an ally? Is that what you're asking? Or?
As America using it as a proxy to keep a chokehold on the Middle East.
Well, I kind of reject the premise of that. I mean, I'm very pro-Israel. I don't think they're perfect. I think they do a lot that I wouldn't do and that I don't support. But I don't know. I would better argue that Israel is a complicated ally of the United States, but very necessary in the Middle East.
Yes. And why so?
Well, for many reasons. For military technology sharing, for data sharing, for also they're a free society in an island of totalitarianism.
Yeah. So a Western power based on imperialism and imperialistic tendencies?
Well, not necessarily. No, I mean, they're their own sovereign country with their own elections, their own country, right? Do you think Israel has a right to exist?
I do, and I believe in a two-party solution, but I don't believe
two-state solution.
Two-state solution. But I don't believe in the genocide and displacement of 1.7 million Palestinian people. Because if you advocate for life, you advocate for all life around the world.
So let's make sure we get our terms right. I don't want to spend too much time on this, but what is a genocide?
Mass killing of people.
Okay,
and a targeted mass killing of people.
Is that what Israel is doing?
Yes, most definitely.
How?
So you're telling me...
Hold on, let's get back. Did Hamas then commit a genocide on October 7th?
Okay, okay, let me get there. Yes.
Based on your... Okay, so both sides are committing genocide.
But since 48, we have the partition plan of 1947, we have the transfer agreement in 1933. There's so much that built up to it.
This guy is just... I love it when pro-Palestinians... I'm sorry, I have to cut in for a second. I love it when pro-Palestinians just start using, terms they read about on Wikipedia once. There was the partition plan 1947, and then there was this Pike Psycho, and that's genocidal. It was the partition plan was genocidal when the Palestinians rejected the state and Israel said we want it, and that was
okay, so it's justified to go into nurseries and.
No, they didn't do that. Where's your evidence?
No, they did.
Okay.
No, hold on, time out.
If you want to go to crimes, then I can pull up a list of
Where's the evidence? I could show you GoPro footage.
I'll show you footage.
Hold on a second. GoPro footage of hours uninterrupted of Hamas terrorists wearing GoPros going into rock concerts and indiscriminately women, kidnapping them and bringing them back to Gaza. If you'd like to watch that footage, you can. But you said, so I need a clear answer, just make sure I'm clear.
Yeah.
A genocide is the targeted mass killing of people.
Yes,
so
sir.
Hamas is guilty of genocide.
Yeah, but correlating up. Do you believe in? This is off topic. What?
No, I'm glad you said yes.
No, the Bill of Rights. Look.
So
the
therefore,
Second, Third, and Fourth Amendment. Do you believe in them?
Yes, the right to bear arms, the right not to have soldiers quartered, and the right to privacy.
Exactly.
We can keep going. The right to fifth.
So as
right
Israel has been
self-incrimination.
violating those for nearly the course of 100 years, how would you feel? If you invite someone into your home and you let them stay as a guest when they were oppressed.
Well, hold on a sec. So, first of all, the Second Amendment is not applicable outside of the shores of the United States. So, not sure where you're going with that. But I want to make sure let me just have you answer this final question.
Yes.
If a foreign power commits genocide against you, as you admit Hamas did, how should Israel respond?
Okay. Yes.
No, but so
look, I'm saying.
how should Israel respond?
They're
Genocide was
allowed
committed
to
against.
defend themselves, most definitely, but not to the extent they have done. It's killing 65,000 people.
First of all,
1,200 and bombing civilian areas. 70% of their casualties are women and children, and the average age of a child in Gaza is 18 years old.
So first of all,
so where are we drawing the line and the shade of gray between black and white? Who's right, who's wrong? We don't know.
well, who started it?
Israel, most definitely.
Hold on.
The Arab-Israeli war.
Hold on a second. Time
This
out.
has been going
on
for
October
50,
6th, the
yes.
day before, was there an act of war?
Yes, prior. Why do you think there's a group of resistance living there? When resistance
Okay, no, I can. So I just want to make sure I understand the argument that this has been a bubbling up conflict since
most
the
definitely.
1950s.
It has been prior to the 50s.
Let me answer your question. Israel got out of Gaza in the
Yes.
early 2000s.
Yes.
Gave it to Hamas.
But if they're still
Hold on.
ruling over,
Why were they not able to create a nice place in Gaza?
Because Israel is holding their materials and their right. It is illegal.
So do you
for
see
them.
a through line here, guys? And it's important though.
Will you let me
It's
add
always
something?
somebody else's
Don't
fault.
speak over me, please. Will you let me ask
Well, it
something?
actually is my deal, but that's fine.
Okay,
So
alright.
it is always somebody else's fault, right?
No,
so
I'm saying there's wrong on both sides, most definitely, but more on the side of Israel. It's unsanctioned and unreasoned to go and kill that many people for no reason.
well, give me
For
the
no
equation.
reason.
I want to make sure I
Okay, you
understand.
believe in an eye for an eye, right?
Generally, but I just
Okay.
want to know the equation though.
So this is politics. They can negotiate. We can release prisoners. We can embargo
Which they
them. Okay, yeah, as going on.
And you
with the
admit
ceasefire.
Hamas uses civilians as human shields.
Absolutely not. I believe Israel does, and I have video footage of it.
It's difficult to debate if you're just on a completely different fact pattern. So let me just.
I will give you readings and videos. I see videos every day. I have family there. I see them literally
Yes,
get torn and ripped to shreds by Israeli missiles, and them killing kids and animals in the street and fun and laughing. And they post their own war crimes.
None of those missiles
They
were
document
being
their,
launched
okay, regardless of
prior
missiles,
to October 7th.
A soldier, me versus you. If you're walking in the street with your family and I shoot you and post it on TikTok and laugh, is that not a war crime?
Well, that's what Hamas did.
No,
against
that's
the
what
IDF.
Israel's doing.
I will not defend everything that every soldier has done, but I want to have one final question, which I think is important. If Israel laid down all of their weapons and
Yes.
said our military is no more, what would happen?
At this point in time, I don't believe they would come to a two-state solution after everything that's gone on.
No,
Prior-
that wasn't the question.
prior
if,
to-
if Israel disbanded its military,
Yes.
what would happen?
The Palestinians would take over, but they would
Oh,
let the Jews.
okay.
Listen. Not forcefully. This is how they operate. This is how Muslims operate Islamically. They let them live under them in jizya. They tax them and they let them live, and they take that tax and give it back to them. How do you think the Ottoman Empire worked and lasted 600 years? How do you think the golden age of
by
Islam
slaughtering Armenians, by slaughtering Jews, by slaughtering Christians. That's how the Ottoman Empire worked.
lasted? And it lasted for 300 years. Because this is history.
So no, I just want to make sure I understand. So they would just take over mostly peacefully.
No, most definitely peacefully, because that's what.
Can
they're
you
based
show me an
God.
example of Jews living peacefully under Islamic rule?
Most definitely.
Where?
When the Hamas had Israeli captives. Have you seen the prisoners?
Israeli captives
Yes.
they killed?
They're not killed.
There was a 9-month-old baby that just got returned home
Hamas had Israeli captives. Have you seen the prisoners?
Israeli captives
Yes.
they killed?
They're not killed.
There was a 9-month-old baby that just got returned home as
They're
a
not
corpse
killed.
by Hamas.
They're
No, but
not
I am interested by what you're saying. So
Yeah.
it's again, this is why it's important on this topic to stay on the moral domain, because all of your numbers are wrong. 65,000 kids have not died, and it's
I didn't
just
say 65,000 kids. I said 65,000 Palestinians, and 1.7 million have been displaced, creating one of the largest refugee
none of that is correct, and that's okay.
Okay.
It's fraction. I don't believe in the numbers. However, the point is this: if Israel laid down its weapons,
Yes.
they would be eliminated.
No, they would not.
You just admitted they would take over Israel.
Now, when I say take
if
over, did I say
Hamas
kill
laid
you?
down their weapons, we would
Yes.
have peace.
Most definitely not.
Because
the
we-
Israelis would keep doing what they have been doing. They have the right to resistance. They have a ceasefire currently, but prior to that, when anyone else in the world,
The emotions of this topic are very high.
Yeah.
Obviously, my allegiance is first and foremost to America.
Yeah.
I'm interested in it just from a moral standpoint, though,
Yes.
which is why is it? Help me understand. There are well over 40 Muslim majority countries in the
Yes.
world, over 1 billion Muslims. Israel is the size of New Jersey, and it has half the world's Jewry, about 7 million people.
Yep.
why can't you just let Israel exist and leave it alone? Why the focus? Why the intensity? Why the anger?
There's no anger.
There's no anger?
Not from me. I'm talking about maybe other people.
Okay.
I don't hate anyone. I'm not displeased with anyone, but I don't believe in the unnecessary killing of people. That's not how we were raised.
I agree.
That's an American value and a conservative value.
I agree. That's why I think October 7th was the beginning of the unraveling of a lot of decency and conflicts.
But what do you think about all that spilling over prior? It's the same with the American Revolution.
I reject the premise.
You reject the premise?
I reject the. I mean, to say that they had no choice but to go and kill a bunch of babies. Let me actually challenge the point. If you were correct, and Hamas was trying to resist, why didn't they go attack military targets and instead they attacked civilian targets? That's what terrorists do, right?
No? I don't know.
So if it was really like, hey, they wanted to resist, they should have went after IDF outposts and picked a fight with somebody their own size. They went after little kids in nurseries, in kibbutzes. And I think you have a moral right. Hold on. You're very well read on this topic. You have family there. I think you have a moral obligation to watch the GoPro videos. They're public.
I've seen. I will show you footage every day coming out of Gaza.
I've seen what you've seen.
I will show you everything.
But you equally no. I'm talking.
What I've seen, because then you wouldn't talk this way.
No. I've seen what you've seen. But I want you to look at the guys that for 3 hours straight were watching GoPro videos, laughing, putting babies in.
Okay, show it to me or send me the link.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to. And the fact you don't even know it exists is very telling, because that's why Israel has become so aggressive in return. And understand the background is that the Jewish people have still not repopulated themselves to the pre-Nazi Holocaust levels.
How many people do you think died in the Holocaust?
Oh, boy.
How many people do you think died in the Holocaust?
Know. That's why I'm asking.
Oh, boy.
I get so many different options.
7 to 8 million is usually the number?
7 to 8 million. I've seen 6. I've seen 2. I've seen 3.
Okay, so what number do you believe? And why does it matter?
Did I live back then? That's 1940, 1930s and 40s.
Does it matter?
No, I mean, regardless, it's a massive killing of them. But I
was
don't
the
know
Holocaust real?
Yeah, of course the Holocaust
was real. Then it shouldn't matter.
But how can you say they haven't repopulated to those times? How do you know?
Well,
is there a record of the death?
Well, yeah, there is a record of the death, and so we know how many Jews that there were in the country and in Europe, and they have not yet been able to repopulate to those same equivalent numbers coming back. So I think we don't agree on anything, and that's okay. I would love to see an end to the killing. However, there needs to be let me ask you my 3-part question, okay? Do you believe anti-Semitism is real, wrong, and evil?
I believe it is wrong, and I believe it exists, and I believe it's evil.
Okay, good.
But
Israel has right to exist. Oh, it's a super easy 3-point question.
Let me pause right there and ask you.
It's not
what
that
defines a Semite?
A Semite?
And when did the term come about?
Well, a Semite comes from somebody from the Samaritan region, right?
Semitic peoples, which consist of...
Right. I could have finished the answer. But yes, from the Samaritan region, that is a term that has largely been popularized in the last 1500. So let me be more specific. Anti-Jewish hatred.
There you go.
Is that fair?
Yes, that's
evil,
reasonable.
wrong.
Yes.
Okay. Israel has a right to exist.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Good. And that since we posit that Israel has a right to exist, that we need to come up with some solution where all people can live peacefully in the region.
Solution.
Okay, or a 1-state solution, or a 3-state solution, right?
Okay, then why can't they, if it's a 1-state solution, why can't they live under the Palestinians peacefully? Like they did previously.
They didn't.
I don't speak on behalf.
They didn't ever live under the Palestinians peacefully, because the Palestinians weren't a thing. I need one fucking person from the pro-Palestine side to come with brain cells. Just one person to have brain cells. I'm not asking for much at this point. I'm really not asking for much. Just brain cells. Why are all of them so retarded? Why are they all so stupid? Is it something in the water? I really wonder. And I don't mean to sound like an asshole, and I don't mean to sound disparaging, even though I acknowledge I am sounding that way right now. I have a hard time with it all. It's all so very fucking stupid. And while Charlie Kirk, just to correct his terminology there, it's not anti-Semitism or Semites are not the people who come from the Samaritan region. It's the people who are the descendants of Shem. Anti-Shemiut or Shemiut. To be a Shem, a Semitic person, is to be the descendants of Shem, one of the sons of Noah from the Bible. It is a very, 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 very obscure and very vague term to be a Shemite or a Semite. But the word anti-Semitism was coined by a Jew specifically reserved for Jew hatred. I agree. I capitulate the term. I will capitulate the point that we as Jewish people have done a shit job at PR and a shit job at representing ourselves and a shit job at explaining to the world what anti-Semitism actually is. And so now you have Arab retards and Palestinian retards like this guy who stand on stage and be like, "You can't be anti-Semitic. I'm a Semite." So are Ethiopians. They're also Semites. And so are Yemenites. They're also Semites. And so are a lot of people in the Arabized world. There's no hate reserved for those people specifically. That's why the term anti-Semite doesn't pass for you. It's specifically reserved for Jewish people. But fine, we'll change the terminology to be anti-Jew hatred. You hate Jews or Jew hatred. But you know what they're going to say next? But we're the real Jews. We're the real Jewish people. And the cycle shall continue once again. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for tuning in. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye, Klutz. If you believe in my content and want to support me, just know your help is needed. There's a bunch of great ways to support me, being PayPal, Buy Me a Coffee, or joining my Patreon community down below. Patreon is the best way to support my channel, and you'll get a bunch of cool perks depending on what tier you join. Another great way to support me is by buying my merchandise on thetravelingclat.com. I regularly drop new merch designs like this beautiful hat, or this amazing shirt, where you can support the channel and get something cool for yourself. I also have an amazing Discord community with people from all over the world. Thank you so much for your support.